Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel with myself, Isabella. Today we're going to be talking about how we can improve quickly. I think this is one of the most asked questions I get in my emails, in my DMs, on my comments of my YouTube videos, all the time. It's natural. We all have this burning desire to get better as quickly as possible because we feel this sense of urgency and that time is running out and that we don't have much time to get to where we want to be. And that's completely normal and completely natural. However, full disclaimer before we begin, obviously, to achieve what we want takes a lot of hard work. And I think when we talk about success and everything, yes, it's hard work, but it's also a lot of patience, a lot of time put in, and just a lot of self-belief that if I just keep going and if I just keeping action, I talk about this all the time, if I just keep taking action every day towards my goals, being patient, then it's inevitable. It's almost impossible that things won't work out because you're doing the best you can. You just have to always ask yourself honestly, am I doing everything in my power? Am I utilizing every moment I can? Because sometimes we come up with excuses or even valid reasons like, oh, but I'm busy today, like I'm heading to school or I have a lot of homework to do. You need to be quite creative with your ideas. Like, have you really thought about what you can do in that time? When you're on the bus to school, you can do your metatarsal exercises, on the bus. You can be doing your feet exercises, underneath. You could be stretching your arches in your shoes, sitting at your desk, fold your leg over and do a glute stretch. Wake up 10 minutes earlier and do 10 minutes of abs, do a 10-minute plank. Simple. Just sit there and do the plank, All these things will help you improve faster. So that brings me to my first point. Let's jump straight in. You need to decide to utilize every little moment you have and just make a decision that every little moment I have, I'm going to do something that takes me further towards my goal. Today, for example, I was on the escalator in London on the tube going to Covent Garden teach class. I used a little moment there on the escalator. I was like, right, I'm going to stretch my calves for the 30 seconds it takes to go up the escalator. And then when I went down the escalator, I used that time to do calf rises. So make a decision to use all the little moments to further your goals. All the little moments add up. So imagine if you did 30 seconds of calf stretches every day. Every time you go up that escalator, each day, you're stretching your calves out. That really adds up. Think about all the little moments in your life, in your day-to-day, and think about what you could do strategically in those little moments. Obviously, it needs to be realistic. So, for example, I'm going up the escalator. I'm not going to do a side leg stretch or anything. I'm going to do little things. For example, when I was in the car ride with my mum all the time, I would utilize that time to stretch. So I'd lie down in the front seat and put my leg up, or even sit up in the front seat and put my leg up to the ceiling and just hold that hamstring stretch for ages. I recently did a podcast episode about what's more important, discipline or motivation. And motivation comes and goes. Yeah, motivation is not permanent. Motivation solely relies on you and how you feel that day. And it's often triggered by external factors. You're motivated because you've bought yourself a pair of trainers. So you're going to go run now because you have a new pair of trainers. But in a week's time, those trainers won't be new anymore. So you won't want to run anymore. It's your self-discipline that keeps you running. So you need now some self-discipline to use those little moments every chance you get. And it's just like building any kind of habit. Once you have this habit in place of using the little moments, it won't feel like, oh, I'm doing another task. It'll just be natural to you. Like, oh, I've got a minute. I'm going to do metatarsals while I wait for my friend to arrive for our coffee. So number 2 is film yourself when you're practicing. When you do practice, even when you're in class, you're probably not allowed to have your camera on, but film yourself all the time. My number one thing when I was at Vaganova was filming myself very rawly. I would go watch it back and be like, okay, why is that not working? And even sometimes when it was working, I'd look and I'd be like, holy moly, that leg's turned in. I had no idea. It's still not good enough, even though it's working. So I want to improve further. So now I know, that leg is not turned out. I need to put more focus on that leg when I'm doing said movement, and then I'll improve. Fundamentally, I found this helped me improve so much and quick because you instantly see your errors and then you rectify it immediately, purely out of sheer horror of of what you're doing. Yeah, you're just kind of like, oh my God, that's disastrous. Then you fix it instantly. I think a lot of us are scared to be that vulnerable with ourselves. It's like we don't want to admit that there's a lot to work on, so we'd rather not know. Guys, come on. You have to know. Otherwise, how do you expect to improve? How do you expect to grow? How do you expect to get any better if you're not going to be vulnerable with yourself? It's the only way. This is also going to help you just be a better artist. Instantly want to work harder. You'll instantly want to improve, and you'll instantly improve that bit faster. Which brings me to my third point, which I just slightly touched on now, is to practice. Make it a goal to practice as often as you can. For some people, you might be lucky and you might be able to practice every evening for an hour, maybe even longer. But for some of us, and I know for a lot of vocational students who are in full-time academic school, you don't have that opportunity so much, right? Because you're in school all day, and then maybe you have your lessons at the end of the day, and then you have your homework to do. If that was me, I would then look at all the little moments again. When can I practice? So I can probably practice on the side when they're doing the exercise. All I had was the opportunity to practice within the lesson. Then when the first group doing it, or when my group wasn't doing it, I would then practice again all the key moments on the side that were in that exercise that needed work from me. Again, it's a little moment you're using because you only have maybe a minute. The exercise is probably 30 seconds to a minute. So you have 30 seconds to a minute to practice that said movement. And you will be surprised. You might have a breakthrough in that 30 seconds and discover something about the movement that you didn't know before. So use the time, don't just stand there. And if you do have time after class, give yourself 10 minutes. I've discovered a lot within 10 minutes. Yeah, I've discovered triple pirouettes in 10 minutes sometimes. If I just do this, oh my God, triple pirouette. Okay, I'll do it again. Oh wow, 10 minutes can be really meaningful. So just because you don't have an hour and you don't have 2 hours, don't allow that to stop you from practicing at all. And this is separate to conditioning. This is actually practicing the movement and the ballet. And say, I'm going to practice for 15 minutes after my lesson tonight. And I'm going to do that 3 times this week. Okay, I'm going to do that on Monday. I'm going to do that on Wednesday. I'm going to do that on Friday. Be extremely specific with yourself, because I just find if there's any uncertainty with the plan, then more often than not, it won't happen. So you need to be very, very clear. Write down very specifically when that practice is going to happen, where it's going to happen, and how long it's going to happen. And if you do have an hour, then great, write down an hour. Maybe you'll have 15 minutes on Monday, maybe you'll have an hour on Friday. It doesn't matter. Just be really specific, and also start slow. So if you haven't done any practice yet and you're not used to that routine at all, then obviously we're not going to do 5 days of practice. It's kind of like you're setting yourself up for disappointment and failure. So start with 2 days in that week, and then increase to 3 the next week once you've got into this habit. Because I'm telling you, once you start practicing regularly, once you start filming yourself, you will just desire being in that studio and just desire practicing. This brings me to my point number 4. I want you to set goals and focuses for each day. This can stem into your conditioning routine now. For example, you just find it all just slightly overwhelming and you have a lot to work on. Let's say we want to work on our hip flexibility. We want to work on our foot strength. We want to work on our point work, on our pirouettes, all this stuff. Obviously, we can't work on everything every single day, especially if you only have the little moments or the 10 minutes. So you need a conditioning plan and we need a structure. Get up just 10 minutes earlier. Okay, 10, 15 minutes earlier, half an hour if you can. We're going to say Monday, I've got to work on my feet. So Monday's tasks in the morning is 15 minutes of feet exercises. Got to keep the core ticking over, so 5 minutes of abs. So set a big priority exercise and a small priority exercise. Yeah, so small priority, like let's keep the core ticking over. So we're going to do some abs, 5 minutes of abs. Big priority is like, I want to increase and improve my feet. So small priority is something, let's say you already have and you need to tick it over. Let's say, you've gained good hip flexibility and good core strength, but you just want to keep it ticking over. So you do, 5 minutes of abs, a couple of minutes of hip stretches. Big priority is I want to increase my foot strength. So I do 15 minutes of feet exercises. Boom, done. Monday. Yeah. And then big priority is I want to do stretching. Maybe you do stretching in the evening, or if you only have one part of the day, then okay, big priority. The next day, I do 20 minutes of hamstring stretches in the morning. Small priority, 5 minutes of abs. If you need a guided plan, this is where my courses come into play. So then it's easy for you. You can be like, okay, big priority is my turnout. So I'm going to do lesson 2 of Isabella's turnout course in the morning. Small priority is my core. So I'm going to do 10 minutes of her Mat Madness workout. That is what I give my members as well, because when they reach out to me and they're like, what do? I want to improve this. Then I help them with the plans. When you've realized what the big priorities are, look at my website and my courses and classes and see where the big priorities can be addressed with whatever classes and courses I have going on. So all you need to do is just press play and off you go, do it with me. It's a great thing to do as well, because then you have the motivation, because you have someone doing it with you and you have me guiding you and helping you. So now you're in a really good place. You're practicing. You know exactly when you're practicing and where you're practicing, and ideally for how long. You're going to record yourself. You always regret when you don't plan, because you don't progress as quickly and you lose so much time. And then that leads me to my final point. You have to be organized and you have to have a plan, because having a plan removes the wasted time deciding on what to do. Because in the morning when you wake up, it could take you 15 minutes to decide on what you're doing. And then you're like, oh, I got to go to school now. Every Sunday night, sit down, plan out your week, plan out your practice time, plan out your conditioning time, plan out what you're going to do in that conditioning time, not just I'm going to condition. And then recording ourselves on our phones, having a look. Yeah, looking in slow motion. What exactly am I doing? Yeah, really slow it down. One other thing, and a bonus point, is I would watch YouTube videos of dancers that I admire doing something specifically that I struggle with. I'd be on YouTube and be pressing play, pause, play, pause, play, pause, play, pause, seeing exactly where their leg was at a certain point in time. Where was their arm? Where was the activation coming from? Where was the initiation coming from? Was it coming from their back, or were they using their leg? Or is it? That's the kind of detail I think we should look at when you're on the bus, or when you're bored, or when you're just a bit tired. Use the time to look at your favorite dancers, ideally on quite a large screen like a laptop, and see exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it, and pause at certain moments. For example, one thing I learned from watching people do fouettes on YouTube was I could see how much they use the side elbow. The elbow comes back when they come in, so I know it's coming from their shoulder more when they come in, rather than trying to get around without using the shoulder, so that was one thing I massively learned, and that instantly improved my fouettes, because I instantly had more force to get around because I was using my back effectively. And then one thing leads to another, and you notice more and you notice more, and I did that with so many movements. Italian fouettes, lame ducks, difficult diagonals, all these things. Take the time to look on YouTube at your favorite ballerinas doing specific things that you find difficult, and you'll learn a lot from that. Guys, I hope that's helped you. Obviously, it does take a lot of hard work, and all these things are hard work because it's a lot of time put in. You're putting in a lot of practice time, you're putting in a lot of planning, a lot of conditioning, a lot of effort, but all these things will also help you improve faster, because you're not just going from lesson to lesson. I just feel that that's never ever going to be enough. Even the most talented needs to work on stuff. Otherwise, it's just not going to be utilized to its fullest potential. So there's no magic pill here that you're going to take and suddenly you've improved loads. Yeah, it takes patience and time. And these things will speed up the process. Do take up my advice and plan. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.